Hello and welcome to A Sound Constitution, here on CHLY 101.7 FM, a show where we focus on health topics that are important to our community. This year's team is made up of 7 third-year VIU nursing students. Our goal is to demystify health issues and address common misconceptions by sharing evidence-informed information from a variety of reliable sources. All information provided in our show will be available in our show notes on our Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Spotify pages. We want to remind our listeners that the information presented in this show is for educational purposes only and does not replace the advice of your primary healthcare professional. If you have any questions or concerns about what's being discussed, feel free to reach out to us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, or Spotify at A Sound Constitution 101.7 FM or email us at asoundconstitution@gmail.com.
We would like to start our show by acknowledging that we are on the unceded territory of the Nanaimo people, with a broadcasting range that overlaps the Quetsin and the Slayman territories. This acknowledgement is done with gratitude to the Nanaimo people and with intention to increase awareness about truth and reconciliation processes and efforts on Vancouver Island. Additional information and resources surrounding reconciliation, protocol, and land acknowledgements can be found in our show notes.
Hi, I'm Kira and one of the hosts for this season. This is the first episode of our new season, so to start things off right, we felt we should introduce ourselves and the new team. I'm excited to kick off our very first episode with a meet and greet. Throughout this episode, you'll be able to get to know the people behind the voices as we share a bit about our backgrounds and discuss what inspired us to start this journey. First, you'll hear from Alexis and Ethan, followed by Trevor, Broyden, and myself. Then last but not least, Jessiana and Becca. It's a fun and informal way to get to know us, hear our stories, and join us as we start this exciting adventure. In between, be sure to stay tuned as we share some fun health facts. And be sure to stick around afterwards as we discuss how we got to where we are and share our vision for the show with topics listeners can look forward to this season. We'll also be sharing what exactly a sound constitution is and sitting down with our instructor, Sandy Alexander, as she tells us more about how it all started. So let's jump right in as we begin with Alexis and Ethan. Take it away, guys.
Hello, we're 2 members of the A Sound Constitution team. My name is Ethan, and here with me I have Alexis. So Alexis, as part of our little interview here, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are?
Sure, Ethan, I'm happy to do that. It's nice to be part of the team. So I'm one of the nursing students, as mentioned, and I am passionate about palliative care and home care. I also have a small farm, and I like to live an active lifestyle.
That sounds awesome. Active lifestyle sounds very healthy. Sounds like a good way to blow off steam. So, Alexis, before coming to the nursing school here, was nursing your first choice, or did you have anything else in mind before choosing nursing?
Yeah, so fun fact about me, Ethan, I actually was a professional athlete in my earlier days. I was a horse show jumper, and I did a lot of other athletics like running and cycling.
Wow, where did you do your athletic training there?
On Vancouver Island, and I also lived in Europe for a bit of time.
Wow, where in Europe did you live?
In Germany.
Ooh.
And do I speak German? Yes, I do.
Oh, awesome. Very cool. That must come in handy sometimes.
Sometimes I actually have had a few patients where it was handy, so that's cool.
That probably brings you quite a unique connection sometimes with your patients there.
It does. It's quite interesting. And the look on their face is priceless.
That would be very cool. So, Alexis, can you tell us a surprising skill that you didn't expect to learn in nursing school?
Yes. So I am not very technologically savvy. I never had a laptop until actually just a couple weeks ago. And thanks to a friend, I now can use one. I'm known for being the older student in school that always has pen and paper and the textbooks at hand. And so now school has taught me how to use technology. Although I still do bother some of my younger classmates about my phone because I don't always know how to get it to work.
Yeah, technology these days, it's moving quickly.
Yes.
Yeah, that must be quite the learning curve there for you.
And I know I was a runner in my day, but I can't seem to keep up with technology.
Yeah, it's quite fast. So Alexis, nursing school, it can be quite tough sometimes. It can be a little stressful. Do you have any tips or tricks to stay motivated during tough or stressful times?
Yeah, so I go back to my days as an athlete. I definitely make sure I work out and get a lot of exercise, and also owning and running a farm keeps me very busy, and I find that you can't have a bad day when you're around animals like cattle and dogs and such like.
Wow, that sounds very, very stress relieving there. Would you find that working on the farm is that quite enough exercise for you? Or
It's a ton of exercise. Yep, especially this time of year when it's rainy and mucky and muddy outside, I definitely get a workout.
For sure. What would you say is your favorite chore on the farm?
Oh, probably carrying hay bales because I try to see how many I can carry at the same time.
Yeah, I can hear that you still have a little competitive side to you there, then.
Very competitive. Very competitive.
Amazing. Wow. Well, thank you so much for tuning in with me, Alexis, answering my questions.
Yeah.
It's been great chatting with you.
Great. Talk to you soon.
Here's today's Daily Dose.
The saying, laughter is the best medicine, may sound cliche, but there's real science behind it. While laughter doesn't cure disease, it does have measurable health benefits. When we laugh, our brains release chemicals called endorphins, which are the body's natural pain relievers and mood boosters. This can lower how much pain we feel and help us feel more relaxed. Laughter also reduces stress hormones like cortisol, supports immune system function, improves mood, and helps people cope better during stressful or difficult situations.
Hey there, it's Alexis again, back here with Ethan, except now I get to be the interviewer. So, Ethan, I was wondering if you can tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure, sounds good. I'm originally from Alberta, and I moved to Vancouver about 9 years ago. I spent about 7 years working as a mental health worker in a residential program. We received patients from a psychiatric unit nearby and helped to rehabilitate them by teaching life skills such as cooking, cleaning, positive coping skills, incorporating aspects of psychosocial rehabilitation. I came to Vancouver Island for the nursing program. Outside of work and school, I like to exercise such as lifting weights, running. I also like to cook and play video games.
Interesting. So it sounds like you have quite a bit of experience in the healthcare field already.
I have, yeah. I've been working in the healthcare field for most of my adult life.
Nice. So going towards the nursing career, nursing is often seen as a predominantly female profession. What are the reactions you have, what are the reactions of those around you when you tell them that you're in nursing school?
I think I've had one negative reaction to being in nursing school. I was at a party at a family friend's house, and a person made a comment that nursing was a feminine field and that men should not be working in that field. But overall, I have received positive feedback from both patients and people outside of work.
Great. So do you agree or disagree with those reactions that you've received?
I would say I think I disagree with the comment about nursing being a feminine-only occupation. I think that's a negative way of thinking, to believe that men or masculine people are not capable of being in a caring position. I know a lot of masculine people that are excellent nurses and bring a fresh perspective to the field.
Excellent. So as we both know, nursing school can be quite stressful, and I was wondering, what does your support system look like during this program?
Yeah, I have a lovely wife at home. She also works in healthcare, so it's interesting to have that shared experience with her. When you come home from a long days of work or school, she knows very similarly like what I'm going through, so that's always helpful. I also have a lot of family on the island, so I find a lot of support through my aunts, uncle, cousins, grandmothers. It's a really excellent support system that way. I have friends in Vancouver that I also chat with, and I get to see them not as often as I'd like to, but I do get to see them on breaks. It's a nice way to disconnect from the school year. I also have a very special kitty at home. He helps relieve stress. I've had him for, I think, about 8 years now, so he's been with me for a long time, big part of my adult life, so he's very supportive.
And what is this kitty's name?
His name is Christopher.
Ooh.
He loves sleeping in the sun, having a little nap on the edge of the bed there, maybe batting around a ball of paper there.
Maybe he should come to class for like a therapy session.
Absolutely, yeah. We should have him as a guest speaker one time. And then one exciting thing is I'm expecting my first child here with my wife in a few weeks here.
Holy smokes, that's incredible.
Absolutely, yeah. I just thought nursing school wasn't quite tough enough or quite stressful enough, so I had to kind of kick it up a notch there with entering fatherhood during the program. Exactly.
No kidding. You'll be juggling a textbook in one hand and a diaper in the other one, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Change diapers one single-handedly while I'm reading my chapters, doing my homework.
Make sure you wash your hands.
Absolutely, yeah.
Here's today's Daily Dose.
Have you ever wondered what's behind the phrase, "a dog is a man's best friend"? As one of the first species domesticated by humans, dogs have coexisted with people for hundreds of years. Over the decades, hundreds of breeds of dogs have been developed, each exhibiting specific traits best suited for specialized tasks. Recent research explains that the bond of companionship and affection that we develop with our doggy friends can lead to a reduction in depression and loneliness. Dogs are also used in therapy, being integrated into patient treatment plans for improved health. So, even if our automobiles are measured in horsepower, the power of the dog is not one to overlook. If you have one, reach over and scratch your puppy and sit, stay, and enjoy the rest of our episode.
Alright, welcome back. For this next part of the show, we're switching things up a bit. We have 3 of us here now to talk about our experiences in nursing. I'm Kira, and I'm joined by Trevor and Broyden for this segment. Let's jump right into the conversation. So, Broyden, why did you decide to pursue nursing as a career?
So before I came out to the island, I was previously a lifeguard for 10 years, and I pride myself on being able to help people when they are in need. Over the many years I was a lifeguard, I found myself feeling a sense of guilt that I wasn't able to do more than what my first aid training was able to provide. I decided that nursing was the best or the next step to go towards. And unfortunately, due to the COVID pandemic, there was definitely some kinks in that plan, but we're here now.
Yeah, I can definitely see why you decided to pursue nursing as a career. What about you, Trevor? Why did you decide to pursue nursing as a career? And did you have any career paths in mind before choosing nursing?
I initially went to school to become a pharmacy technician, and that's where I started my journey into healthcare. I worked in a community pharmacy for about a year and a half before starting at NRGH, our local hospital. And I had quite a unique opportunity at the hospital where I was working in the emergency department. Through that job, I got to be around many amazing nurses, and I got to be a part of direct patient care right when patients came into the hospital. I quickly knew that I wanted to do more in the department and for the patients who come in. I applied to the nursing program here at VIU, and I was lucky enough that I got in off of the wait list my first time applying. Once I finish my degree, my plan is to do the emergency specialty course and then work in the emergency room in Nanaimo. Why did you get into nursing, Kira?
Well, I decided to go into nursing because of experiences I've had and my family has had in the healthcare setting. Due to these experiences, I was able to see firsthand the difference that a good nurse can have for a patient in what one could argue can be one of the scariest times of their life. On the contrary, I have also seen the impact that a not as great nurse can have. I know that everyone has their bad days, and being exposed to this environment from the other side through practicums and clinicals, I can definitely see why. But I want to be that good nurse for my patients and be there for them in those moments because I know what a difference it truly makes and the impact that it has on that patient's experience.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I believe being a good nurse for our patients is definitely something that can help our patients with recovery. But on that note, Trevor, if you had to pick one nursing skill to master, what would it be?
It would definitely be starting IVs. It seems like something that should be pretty easy to pick up. We've all had our blood drawn before, and the phlebotomists always make it look just effortless. If you've ever had an IV by a skilled nurse, same thing. They do it without even looking, it seems. The patients that I've had definitely would also wish that I could have this skill mastered instantly. Although, luckily enough, I've had patients who are more than happy to have a student nurse such as myself practice these skills on them, which we definitely appreciate all patients that are happy to have students be involved in their care. And Kira, what does it mean to you to be a good nurse? You talked a little bit about it.
Well, like I previously mentioned, my definition of what a good nurse is comes from personal experience. I feel like what makes a good nurse is how they approach their patients and the care that they give them. When I think of a good nurse, I think of someone who listens to what their patients say and does everything that they can for their patient, including being their voice when needed and advocating for them. Now, I know that it's easier said than done, especially when you're juggling multiple patients or when you have an overcrowded floor. But when I see how much of an impact that it can have, even in the last 2 years of placements, it's definitely something that I strive for.
I agree. It can definitely feel like you don't have enough time to spend with your patients at times, and there's a lot of competing demands. But being the person that can be there for your patient and really listen to them, explain things to them, we've all seen that it can make a world of difference.
Yeah, exactly.
Broyden, tell us a little bit more about yourself. Where are you from? What's something unique about your hometown?
So I'm from the Okanagan, from a small town of Armstrong. And while many people may not know where that is, and if you're curious, it's around the Kelowna, Kamloops, and Salmon Arm area, a lot of people may recognize its name for the cheese that you may find in your grocery store. When I was a kid, the Armstrong Cheese Factory was in town, and me and my family would always go there to get our supply of cheese, and I would always get as many samples as I can get as a kid growing up, and it was a lot of fun, and I kind of grew a fondness for cheese back then. But in the small town, I kind of lived on the outskirts of it on a small farm, which we had Christmas trees. We have 42 acres of Christmas trees, and every winter we would open up and we would sell as many trees as we can to the locals of the area. So, Kira, how about you? Where are you from, and what's something unique about your town?
Well, mine has nothing to do with cheese. I'm actually from Thompson, Manitoba, which is a city in northern Manitoba, and it's often called the Hub of the North because there's not much further you can go on just your normal highway from there. It's also been called the wolf capital of the world because the surrounding boreal forest has such a high concentration of gray wolves, and the city really leans into this identity. They have the Spirit Way, which is a 2.5-kilometer self-guided walking and biking trail that loops around the city, and walking the full trail usually takes about 2 to 3 hours. One of the coolest parts of the Spirit Way, in my opinion, is Wolves Along the Way, which is 49 unique concrete wolf statues spread across Winnipeg, Churchill, and Thompson, but 35 of them are in Thompson. And each wolf is sponsored and painted by an artist, and most have a story behind the design, which makes them feel personal, and I think that's really, really cool. The trail also features a famous mural reproduction of Wolf Sketch by wildlife artist Robert Bateman. It's done in a 3D style, and it's on one of the apartment buildings, which is why it's 10 stories tall, and it quickly became one of the city's most recognizable landmarks. Thompson also has a strong industrial backbone, which a lot of people outside northern Manitoba don't even really know about. It was founded in 1956 after the discovery of a massive nickel ore body nearby, and the city became the first fully integrated mining, smelting, and refining complex in the Western world. And so that and its history has shaped Thompson into what it is, and it's definitely a spot where nature is a huge part of everyday life, and seeing wildlife or the northern lights isn't something that's unusual. So with all of that, it makes it a hometown that stands out in ways you don't really forget.
Well, it definitely sounds like your town has a lot more going on than mine did.
I mean, I do think a Christmas tree farm would be pretty cool to grow up on, especially at Christmas time.
That is true. It is a magical feeling for sure.
So now that we've talked a lot about ourselves, let's shift the questions to nursing school. So Trevor, what has been the most exciting or challenging part of nursing school so far for you?
I think nursing school is quite a bit different from any other schooling that I've done, which leads to some of the challenges. In elementary school, high school, you go to class, you sit down for hours, and you have lectures. In nursing school, well, we still have lectures where we're in classes. We also have courses such as this one, where we're on the radio show and we're promoting health to our community. We have clinical placements in the hospital, where we're interacting with patients and getting the real-world experience of what it's like to be a nurse. And we learn all of those skills in the learning center here at school. So there's a lot of different ways that we need to be able to learn and adapt. And I think that's been one of the biggest challenges, is just the shift from typical school to nursing school.
Yeah, that's definitely a big shift. It's a lot more than just sitting in lectures and memorizing things.
Absolutely. Broyden, what are some of the ways that you've balanced school, work, and your personal life over the last few years?
Well, I want to make a note before I give you my answer that everyone's methods are different. Just like a snowflake, it's a very unique per person. In my case, I'm a very socially awkward person, so I like to spend my time alone to recharge my social battery, for lack of a better phrase. This allows me to sit back with a clear mind to be able to plan out whether it's my day, my week, or the next month. Since my mind kind of goes everywhere and anywhere at any given moment, it's nice to have time to just sit down and recharge myself. As an example, I did take a year off of nursing school here, and I did come back this last fall due to burnout and to work on my mental health. And it's been very beneficial for me taking that year off, as it has allowed me to be able to come back with a more focused mind and be able to perform to the best of my abilities for my patients.
Yeah, I agree. Nursing school definitely needs to be individualized in how we take care of ourselves outside of the classroom. And it's really great to hear someone's story like you, who's gone through some troubles, had to step away from the program, get yourself sorted out, and then get back in where you can be better for yourself and for your future patients.
Yeah, exactly. But on the next note, though, Kira, do you have any go-to study tips or habits you can provide to us and anyone else listening?
One of the things that I think was the most helpful was forming a study group really early on. Being in a study group, you'll have different approaches to studying, so you'll have to find a way that works for all of you. With my study group, there was definitely times where I didn't understand a concept that we were taught in class or that we were learning out of our textbook, and one person would try and explain it to me, and I still couldn't quite grasp it, but then another person explained it in a slightly different way, and it made sense. So having the variety of learning styles helps because it exposes you to different approaches that you might not have thought about before, and you can definitely have collaborative learning, which you see a lot in nursing. Another benefit about the study group was I found when a peer didn't understand a concept, the act of me trying to explain it to them reinforced my own knowledge. It forces you to go beyond memorizing and pushes you to understand. Because if you only memorize a topic, you don't understand it, and it can be a lot harder to explain it to someone else. And I also feel that forming the study group early on was really helpful because it's carried forward into year 3 from anatomy to pharmacology, and it's been really helpful. Another thing that benefits me and my study group is setting timers. I have ADHD, and I can tend to be someone who can be hyper-focused on a certain task. I can forget to eat or even change the position that I'm sitting in for hours. So setting timers worked for me and my group to help us keep on track and reminding us to eat and do all those little things that you also need to do to keep yourself healthy and so you can keep going.
And maybe I should start giving myself those alarms for reminders, as I found myself even here at the library studying for hours with only 1 cup of coffee in my system. Yeah. So I definitely will take up one of those tips of advice from you. Yeah, it's definitely something that
you learn as you go and you're constantly finding new ways to adapt. The setting timers was only a recent thing in the past year because we had to adapt to our studying methods. But Broyden, as a man in a predominantly female field, what are the reactions of those around you when you tell them that you're in nursing school? And do you agree or disagree with these reactions?
Strangely, when I tell people that I'm in the nursing program, I rarely get the mention of my gender. The usual response is usually along the lines of, "Oh, that's wonderful. We need more nurses." And while I had expected responses to be more along the lines of what most people would expect when talking about male nurses in a female-led field, it makes me very hopeful for the future of men in the nursing field, in the nursing program. It does feel strange not to experience a lot of this discrimination that I've been warned about, but I do hope my luck continues to move forward, and for anyone else who wants to join the program.
I also hope your luck continues. How about you, Trevor? What have your experiences been as a male nursing student?
I really haven't had any negative experiences being a male in nursing. A lot of the feedback that I get from any patients is that they're either happy to see a male or gender just doesn't come up at all. There's definitely some tasks that nurses have to do that some patients may feel more comfortable with a female nurse rather than a male, although the same goes the other way, where there's some patients who would rather a male nurse. So it really hasn't become an issue, and for anybody else that's going into the field, there are more male nurses entering the field, and I think that we're seeing less stigma in society in that regard.
Thank you both for your insights. There definitely seems to be some common themes about how you're hoping that this trend continues and that there is a lot more males going into nursing, which is a very positive thing. And it's great that you both have so many positive experiences with this topic. So to wrap up our interview, I have one final question. I'll start with you, Broyden. What do you hope to bring to A Sound Constitution this season?
I would like to bring up topics that are interesting or relevant or relevant to our community here in Nanaimo and the island. Considering that there's a lot of misinformation on the internet these days, I want to be able to provide everyone with accurate and reliable information so that there's not a bunch of questions going around on a very simple topic. I want to be able to provide everyone with information that we could all rely on.
I think that's a good point. What about you, Trevor?
Much in the same vein as Broyden, I also want to bring interesting and factual information. There's a lot that I've learned these last 3 years in school and in healthcare that I never even thought about prior to entering nursing school. And a goal of mine with A Sound Constitution is to help bring some of this health information that I've learned to the general public so that anybody that may not think too much about our healthcare system can gain a better understanding of it. What are your hopes, Kira?
Well, similar to what you guys have said, I hope to bring a positive attitude and approach to conversations that make health more approachable and less intimidating. You hear all the time these big words, like all the medical jargon that doesn't make much sense to a lot of people. So I want A Sound Constitution to be a space where people can learn, reflect, and feel empowered to take small, realistic steps to better their own health. And whether that's done through breaking down complex health topics, sharing student perspectives like we've done today, or highlighting prevention and wellness, my goal is to promote informed choices and meaningful dialogue that listeners can actually apply in their everyday lives.
I think that we all share a lot of the same goals about the direction that we want A Sound Constitution to take, and I'm excited to see where this season ends up leading us.
Me too.
Same here.
And that wraps up our conversation. Thank you for joining myself, Kira, and Trevor as we share a bit of our experiences in nursing school and reflect on what has been shaping us into nursing along the way. Don't change that channel just yet, though, because after a quick fun fact, we will be switching gears and dive right into our next interview.
Here's today's Daily Dose. Did you know the immune system fights more than just bacterial, viral, fungal, or parasitic infections? It also protects us against potential cancers. All of our cells, except red blood cells, have molecules on their surface that display proteins our immune system recognizes as ourselves. However, if a cell is mutated, it may display different proteins our immune cells don't recognize. This happens in viral infections and potentially cancerous cells. It leads to our immune system killing these mutated cells, protecting us from cancer.
Today, I'm interviewing Becca. She is a part of the Sound Constitution team, and I'm asking her some questions about nursing and why she got into the program. So, Becca, why did you get into nursing?
So before starting nursing school, I worked as a healthcare aide for a few years. I chose to do this because I wanted to make sure healthcare was the right fit for me, and that experience confirmed it because I really enjoyed the work and connecting with the people. My goal has almost always been nursing. I didn't really consider many other career paths. What draws me to nursing is that I enjoy working alongside people to help achieve their health goals, while also being in a role where my actions can directly impact their care, their outcomes, and also meaningfully shape a patient's experience.
Nice. That's awesome. Did working as a healthcare aide give you any advantages going into the nursing program?
Yeah, I feel like working as a healthcare aide definitely helped me prepare for nursing school because I already was comfortable interacting with patients and assisting with personal care, which made the clinical environment feel less intimidating. It also strengthened my time management and prioritization skills, which have been extremely helpful during practicums where you're balancing multiple patient needs at once.
Yeah, that's so important. And I know from experience when we were together in our placements on the units, you were such a wealth of knowledge and you were so calm and great with patients and so organized. So I can definitely see that that is benefiting you. Can you give me an example of a small lifestyle change that has had a big impact on long-term health?
So one simple lifestyle change that can have a big impact on your health is moving your body regularly, especially outside when possible. It doesn't have to be intense exercise. Things like walking, fresh air, and consistent movement can really help support both physical and mental health. It's something I personally prioritize to help me get through stressful weeks of nursing school with running or going for a walk in nature. I try not to overcomplicate it and focus on moving my body in ways that match the energy I have for that day. Right now I'm training for a half marathon, so I run a few times a week when my schedule allows it, but on busier days, it might just be a short walk after class to reset mentally, or I go for a walk while catching up with friends or family back in Ontario.
I agree. Getting outside and moving outside is such a benefit, especially on beautiful days. It really makes such a difference. And the last question for you, what do you hope to bring to a Sound Constitution this season?
This season on A Sound Constitution, I'm hoping to bring clear, evidence-based conversations around health topics that are often confusing or misrepresented online. I'm especially interested in breaking down health trends related to nutrition, women's health, and aging. I want to help cut through misinformation and make health information more realistic, practical, and accessible. I'm definitely not immune to social media health trends either, but preparing for the season has pushed me to pause and actually look at the evidence. It's helped me be more intentional about what I take seriously, instead of jumping on whatever the new trend is at the moment on social media.
Yeah, that is so fair. I definitely have fallen for that trap before too. It's easy to see results online and then hope that they apply to you. So I agree. It's going to be really interesting to have more of a evidence-informed approach, and having that time to research is going to be really excellent. Thank you so much, Becca. And I'm excited to work with you this season.
Yeah, I'm excited to work with you too.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much.
Here's today's Daily Dose.
Research continues to show that access to nature supports mental health. A recent Canadian study found that people who live near green spaces with more trees and bird life were more likely to report better mental well-being. This suggests that spending time in natural environments isn't just enjoyable, it's a meaningful contributor to improving your mental health.
So Jess, what area of nursing do you see yourself specializing in, and why?
Once I graduate, my goal right now is to start out on a med-surg unit to get a solid foundation in my skills. And then after that, I'm thinking that I'd like to specialize in either maternity or possibly palliative care. Maternity appeals to me because, of course, seeing sweet new babies is such a bonus, but it's also about supporting families and parents. It's also a dynamic, acute setting, so there's a lot that can happen. So you get the challenge of a more critical care environment alongside with a lot of joy. And then palliative, on the other hand, I think would be incredibly rewarding in a different way. So just being present with patients and families as they navigate the end of life, helping them maintain dignity and comfort would be deeply meaningful. Even though it comes with its own emotional weight, obviously, it would be a tough place to work a lot of days, but also would be really rewarding, I think. And then long term, I'd love to move into more preventative care and possibly pursue a master's degree as a nurse practitioner. So my goal there would be to help people maintain their health, build on their strengths, and promote longevity. So really supporting wellness before a crisis happens.
Wow, that sounds incredible. So have you had any meaningful clinical experiences or interactions that helped shape this perspective on nursing?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's been so many meaningful experiences that we've had in this program that I've had personally. And when I first chose nursing, my reasons were pretty practical, to be honest. So I was thinking, okay, there's great job stability, especially with AI and everything happening there. RNs are paid well, part of a union, possibly with a pension. So there's all these practical reasons. But beyond that, I also knew I wanted to work in healthcare. I've always been interested in health and wellness, and I really wanted to do something that actually mattered to other people as well. And once I got into the program and started clinical, though, my perspective really shifted away from the practical and into more of the ways of being as a nurse. So especially here in Nanaimo, we care a lot for older patients and older adults. So a lot of them are closer to the end of their lives. So we see a lot more of that. And I grew up in a new space, so I knew that this would be a population we'd be caring for in Nanaimo. But being in that role has really shown me how much a privilege it is to be there during that time for those people. Don't always think about how important the small things are, like how you speak to somebody or how you help them feel like themselves. But maintaining a patient's dignity when they're in such a vulnerable stage is a huge part of the care that we provide.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for sharing that.
Thanks.
If you're just joining us, we've just finished hearing from our new A Sound Constitution team. We're switching gears now to look at how we got here and give a sneak peek of topics that we'll be exploring this season. I'm here with Trevor, and we're going to talk about the Bachelor of Science in Nursing program by talking about our experiences at Vancouver Island University. We're going to be answering common questions and breaking it down from a student perspective. To start things off, I feel like one of the biggest questions people always ask is, how many students actually get into the program each year?
That definitely comes up a lot, as you always hear how competitive the admission process is. VIU has around 70 to 80 seats for nursing students, which they admit each September, which isn't that many when you think of just how many people apply.
Exactly. I remember being surprised by that, especially knowing there are hundreds of applicants every year. It makes sense why it's competitive. Admission is based on a couple of things, your GPA and your Casper score.
Could you tell me more about those?
Sure. Academically, you need a minimum of a C+ in chemistry, biology, and English, and math. The exact courses needed can be found on VIU's BSN page. The Casper is also required for admission.
I know the Casper is something that people stress about a lot. How would you explain what the Casper is to someone who's applying?
I know that I stressed about mine, but it helps to know that it's more about how you think through situations. The Casper is an online situational judgment test where you're shown video or written scenarios and then you answer your questions under a time limit. It is made up of 2 main sections and 11 scenarios with video and typed responses. It looks at non-academic things like communication, ethics, and interpersonal skills. Each scenario is evaluated not by a computer program, but by a trained professional.
So the Casper gets used alongside your GPA, is that correct?
Yeah, and it's meant to make the selection process more fair. One thing that surprises people is that you don't actually get your Casper results back. Rather, you just get a general percentile rank. The full results are sent straight to the schools you apply to, and you have to state what those schools are when you book your test.
Do you have any tips for students who are looking to write the Casper exam?
I would recommend doing the practice test. There's also videos you can watch online to become more familiar with how the exam works. You can only take the exam once per admission cycle, which is good to know ahead of time.
Definitely. Another thing I'd wish I'd known earlier is that even if you don't get into the program the first time that you apply, you can still take some courses that count towards a degree. Is that right?
Yeah, that's a huge factor. You can take up to 6 courses for credit toward the nursing degree before being admitted. You apply through exploratory university studies, which can really help reduce your course load later on.
Especially if you take things like the 2 required English courses, the 2 general electives, and the anatomy and physiology biology courses ahead of time. When do people usually hear back about being accepted to the program?
Most applicants hear back in the late spring, around April or May. Some offers are conditional though, depending on whether prerequisites are finished.
Yeah, and VIU also offers a wait list, just in case you don't get in on the first time. Another big concern people have is the workload of the degree. I remember wondering what study would actually look like.
Same. It's important to remember though that it varies for everybody and with each course. A good rule of thumb is to plan to study for 2 to 3 hours a week per 1 credit a course is worth. Most courses in our program are 3 credits, so that's 6 to 9 hours a week per course that you're studying outside of class.
Yeah, it can definitely vary from person to person and class to class, just how much you need to study. Before we wrap up, can you give a quick overview of how the program is structured?
Sure. In the first year, the focus is on general health, primary healthcare, and health assessment across the lifespan. If you haven't completed your English or biology courses yet, you'll also do those at this time. Second year looks more at healing initiatives and health challenges such as illness, loss, and social factors. Third year, like we are currently in, and fourth year go deeper into community and societal health, research, and complex nursing. Throughout the years, you will also have clinical placements in long-term care, hospital settings, and the community.
And at the end of it all, you're eligible to write the NCLEX, Registered Nurse Licensing Exam, and apply for registration with our licensing body, the British Columbia College of Nurses and Midwives.
Exactly. And honestly, hearing it laid out like this makes the whole process feel a lot less overwhelming, and I wish I had something like this before I applied.
Thanks for talking to me about it.
Now that you know how we got here, we're going to look at what exactly a sound constitution is. A sound constitution, or ASC, has been airing since 2010, 16 years. It's a health promotion radio program developed and hosted by Bachelor of Science in Nursing students at Vancouver Island University. We use this platform to apply our academic learning in a real-world, community-focused setting while developing essential skills in health communication, leadership, collaboration, and media production. Through our involvement with A Sound Constitution, we participate in every stage of the radio production process, including topic selection, evidence-based research, content development, recording, editing, and broadcasting. We work collaboratively as a team to plan and deliver engaging and informative episodes that translate complex health information into clear, accessible language for a diverse audience. We focus on health and wellness topics relevant to our community. Our primary goal of ASC is to promote health literacy within the community by providing accurate, evidence-informed health and wellness information from reliable sources. Each episode is designed to demystify common health concerns, challenge misinformation, and clearly distinguish fact from fiction in an accessible and engaging way. By presenting health topics in an approachable and conversational format, we aim to empower listeners to make informed decisions about their health and well-being. A Sound Constitution airs weekly on Thursdays from 2 to 3 p.m. on CHLY 101.7 FM. CHLY is a non-profit campus and community radio station based here in Nanaimo, British Columbia. Their mission is to provide intelligent, innovative, and entertaining content that is informative and educational to listeners in the community. Our mission at ASC of researching evolving, relevant health content for the community seamlessly aligns with CHLY's goals. In addition to our radio broadcasting, we extend our outreach through digital platforms including Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and Spotify that we update with each new episode. These platforms allow us to share recorded episodes, show notes, and supplemental resources used in the development of each episode. We also share information regarding our commitment to truth and reconciliation. Through these channels, we aim to increase accessibility to our content and support ongoing learning beyond just our weekly broadcast. Overall, A Sound Constitution serves as both a community health resource and a learning platform that supports our development as confident, informed, and socially responsible future nurses. Through collaboration, research, and public engagement, we bridge academic learning with community outreach and reinforce the vital role that nurses play in health promotion, education, and advocacy. Coming up next, we have an interview with our instructor, Sandy Alexander, and she's going to talk to us about how exactly A Sound Constitution came to be.
Hello again, everyone. This is Broyden speaking, and today I have the privilege of interviewing Sandy Alexander.
Thank you, Broyden, for inviting me onto your show this week to share a little bit of history about A Sound Constitution.
Can you take us back to the beginning and tell us how A Sound Constitution came to be and why it's important for our community?
For sure. So I want to say back in around 2008, one of our nursing professors, Stephanie Buckingham, took some of our nursing students to attend a conference in Vancouver. And at that conference, Dr. Brian Goldman was presenting. He's an ER physician in Toronto, but he's also the host of CBC's radio program, and subsequently now it's a vlog as well, White Coat Black Art. And so the students that attended the conference, while they were there, they listened to him and they were really quite interested, and they invited him to our campus here at, well, it was Malaspina back then, but now Vancouver Island University in Nanaimo, and to speak with our nursing students. So he accepted and he came to campus and to speak with our nursing students. He also interviewed our nursing students about their emotional toll and experiences around the emotional toll and their adjusting to being care providers and givers. One of the students who attended the interview reflected on this experience and thought, wow, this would be a very interesting for nursing students to produce a spoken word radio show about health. Now, she also had a little bit of background with radio and thought and saw the connection. So she met with myself and another faculty member, Maureen O'Connor, about the potential of creating this as a community practice placement, as we have a campus radio station, which is CHLY 101.7 FM. So we talked about it and how this community practice placement might meet the learning outcomes for this practicum course. And she and a few peers submitted a proposal, which once we read it, we thought and saw the great fit. And so that's how it came to be. And so she and 3 peers launched their first episode of their first season of A Sound Constitution in 2010. And I'm happy to say it's been running ever since. And we've had this as a very, very robust community practice placement for students. And I just want to also talk about A Sound Constitution title. The choice of the title, they chose it, of course, and they worked on it. It's actually a bit of a double entendre with the play on the words sound and constitution. So I thought that was, something maybe to bring forward to you and the listeners.
Right, yeah. I had no idea where that came from, but that's definitely something interesting to know. I didn't know that. Mm-hmm. So with that in mind, for someone who's tuning in for the first time to A Sound Constitution, what would you want them to understand or expect from this show? So
I'd want them to understand that this is a student nurse health promotion program, and really it's aimed at, and this was the mission statement that they identified at the beginning when they first launched this program, really aimed at demystifying health topics, really wanting to separate fact from fiction, because we know that there's a lot of myths out there and misinformation about health that's being shared, whether it be through social media or whatever. And then really wanting to provide credible information that matters to the community. So now this information, and we always say this as part of our episode, this health information doesn't, even though it's based and grounded in evidence and credible information, it's not to take the place of their healthcare providers' advice and recommendations.
For sure. How has the Sound Constitution evolved since it first started? And what impact have you seen the Sound Constitution have on the community or on listeners over time?
Yeah, so originally when this first started, when the first season launched, and through a number of seasons with the nursing students, it originally aired live. So the students would be in the radio station and they'd have some pre-recorded segments, but then they'd also be live. So that was really interesting. Over the years, and particularly COVID, right, we had to pivot how we did what we did in nursing practice and in our courses and practicums.
That must have been a major shift.
It was, but you know what, and that's what I love about nurses and nursing students, so flexible, so resilient, and so resourceful. So they pivoted, they sort of explored other opportunities to produce and air their show. So they pre-recorded it and they learned how to podcast basically their episodes, which was really, really interesting. So in doing so, this allowed them to expand their listenership to a much broader audience. And they also, through their social media platforms, also provided the opportunity to connect with more and more people out there.
How does a Sound Constitution help strengthen health literacy in the Nanaimo community and beyond?
What does it mean by health literacy? So really, health literacy is the ability for individuals to find, understand, and use information and services to make informed, safe, and effective health decisions for oneself or others. Through the use of our social media channels, this audience has really increased. And I actually recall one of our episodes being aired by another program at a community radio station in New Brunswick too. So it really expanded. Oh, really? Yeah, it was really, really interesting how they picked up the show and with permission aired it on a radio station, a community radio station in New Brunswick.
Oh, that's really cool. I hope we get to experience that at some point for anyone else listening out there.
Sure.
So what has stood out to you about how students grow or change over the course of the semester?
What has really stood out for me, and I say it's been a quite great privilege and honor to be a part of students learning over the years, and we've had other faculty members who work with students in this practice placement, not just myself, and I'm sure that they would account for this too, is that how knowledgeable and passionate the nursing students become about providing this health information to their community. And they really do develop their ability to better communicate health information to their patients and clients in whatever healthcare setting they're working in.
Mm-hmm. And then with that in mind, have you received any feedback from the community about how we do things here at Sound Constitution?
Yeah, actually and particularly the students have, especially when they have guest speakers that come and provide information on our program, they really they come back to us saying that, wow, this is such a great opportunity for the nursing students to share information that really is meaningful to the community and can really influence change.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And so what hopes do you have for the future of Sound Constitution, and why should our community members continue tuning in each week?
Well, I'm hoping that they continue to expand their knowledge and abilities and continue to advocate for optimal health information. And I really hope that our community continues to tune in each week.
I really do too. I think this is a very good program. Well, I believe that's all the questions I have for you. So thank you for taking the time out of your day to answer these questions for me and give us this really insightful, for lack of a better phrase, insights on how a Sound Constitution came to be.
My pleasure, and thank you for the invitation to share this with you and our listeners today.
Yes. Thank you.
Now that you know how we got here and what a Sound Constitution is all about, let's talk about what you can look forward to this season. This season, we'll be diving into a range of topics that affect people at every life stage. Some of the topics we may explore include topics such as loneliness and its impact on mental and emotional well-being, specifically in seniors, as well as access to healthcare, including taking a closer look at what actually happens when you go to the hospital, breaking it down in a clear, non-political way to make the system feel a little less intimidating. Continuing on, we may also explore topics such as ear and auditory health, focusing on why hearing health matters and how it affects daily life. Women's health is another passion we hope to highlight this season, along with conversations around vaccine preparedness and what it means to be informed and ready. Additionally, we may break down nutrition, simplifying what nutrition really is and how it supports overall health. Together, these topics reflect the kinds of conversations we're hoping to have this season, conversations that are informative, approachable, grounded in everyday health experiences, giving listeners practical knowledge they can carry with them beyond just the show.
When we think about healthy aging, we often focus on medications and mobility, but one of the strongest predictors of aging well isn't medical at all, it's social connection. Join us next week on episode 2 of A Sound Constitution, where we'll be talking about how socialization in later life supports mental and physical health, and the real risks of loneliness. We'll explore what the research tells us, how social prescribing is helping seniors build meaningful connections, and a powerful community example, an all-men's a cappella group bringing people together through music. It's a conversation about dignity, belonging, and why connection matters for healthy aging. Tune in next week at 2 p.m. on CHLY 101.7 FM.
Check out our show notes from today's episode on our Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or Spotify at A Sound Constitution CHLY 101.7 FM. You'll be able to find references and more information about today's show, read more about our commitment to truth and reconciliation, or to follow along with what's coming up this season. We want to remind our listeners that the information presented in the show is for educational purposes only, and does not replace the advice of your primary healthcare professional. If you've missed parts of this episode, or would like to replay it, or to listen to past episodes, please check out our YouTube or Spotify at A Sound Constitution. We look forward to connecting with you next week.